What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time. And welcome back to the A is for Alcoholic podcast. We're here again. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
My name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic. And a chocoholic.
I'm a chocoholic, too. I like peanut butter myself.
Yeah, I don't really like chocolate. It just sounded funny.
But yeah, sugar has been bugging me lately. I don't know. I've been getting these weird cravings for like chocolate and peanut butter and stuff like that, and trying not to give in to them. And I went,
dude. Yeah, my wife's friend gave us a cake, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's sitting in the fridge, and I ate a piece of it yesterday. And then today, my brain was like, "Yo, fuck up some of that cake," and I'm like, "No, dude."
Right?
And my brain's like, "Yo, get on it." And I was like, "You know what, brain? Fuck you." And I ate an apple.
Did that help?
And I still wanted cake. No. I mean, I felt full, but I was like, damn, that cake sounds so good. I haven't had any yet.
Did I tell you I was in the grocery store looking at chocolate bars, and I just kept looking at the calories, and then I put one back, and I must have picked up every single one. Like,
dude.
And even the ones that were super dark, like 90%, and it was still the same calories as the one that was like 60%. And
just standing there sweating, nipples all hard.
Pretty much, dude. It was like, and I'm following like healthy vegan fucking Instagram feeds where they're like, take a sweet potato and put some almond butter in there with a pinch of sea salt, and I'm like, actually that sounds pretty good, but what I really want is a fucking Reese's peanut butter cup.
Right. Hey, Halloween's coming. It's prime candy season right now, dude. Yeah, at least you don't have a kid, man.
Sugar addiction is definitely a big topic of alcoholics, myself included. But that's not what we're here to talk about today.
Not today.
Real quick, go listen to our other podcasts. Gluten is Not Your Problem. Rashida and John. Good stuff on both ends. Different things. If you haven't heard them, go listen to them. And quickly, I just want to share with you our sponsor, as always, is Green Camel Press. It's a company that I started with another friend of mine. We do design, we do illustration, we do animation, we do all kinds of stuff. Go check it out, greencamelpress.com. Send me an email and let me know what you think. Check us out on Instagram, on Facebook. We're everywhere and anywhere you need to be. Today is the letter K. And K is, Jerry and I decided we're going to talk about keeping up with the Kardashians.
Dude. Kylie, Katie, Karina, Crazy Kathy.
Crazy Kathy Kardashian, is she one of them?
Yeah. She cleans the pool.
No. K is for keeping good company.
Yeah.
And Jerry actually suggested this one. And I think it's cool for a couple of reasons. One, our social interaction, where we get what am I trying to say here? Our social scene, our social what's the phrase I'm looking for? Our
peer group,
group, whatever. When we're drinking, oftentimes, I mean, I can remember going to bars and seeing people and hanging out with people that I didn't make plans to, right? It was just people that were there the same days that I would go there. And those were just like these bar friends. And I'm sure you had, a lot of them were bartenders too. But
all of them.
Mm-hmm. But those people you'd see and be like, hey, what's up, Chuck, or whatever. And you kind of just hang out and probably drink too much. And people I would never hang out with anywhere else, and I'd just blather on about this, that, and the other. And getting sober, I know that my experience was a little bit different because I had kind of left a lot of those peer groups, and I was doing a great deal of drinking by myself.
Yeah.
But getting sober can be difficult with the people that you used to hang out with, and the people who used to know you, and the people you would drink with. I know that you've kind of been in the same area, in the same space, and you have the same social circle. That was the phrase I was looking for.
Bam.
To a certain extent, that you did while you were drinking. Of course, that's shifted and changed. But you still see people kind of regularly that you used to drink with, not at the bars, of course, but either through work or through other social functions.
Yeah.
What would you say was like people's reaction when you told them you were getting sober, or people who were like you used to drink with?
Oh man, I just ghosted. I didn't tell anybody shit. But the thing is, when we thought of the keeping up with good company, I really want to stress that I don't necessarily think that the people I used to drink with were bad people.
No.
And that they were bad for me. They were bad for me. Actually, was the phrase I was looking for. They weren't bad generally. They were just bad for me. And so, I remember that phenomenon of not drinking and people that I did drink with ghosting me back when they found out that I wasn't drinking. But I didn't make a proclamation or walk into my bar, and be like, I'm done, and then walk out. I just stopped going, But
Yeah.
I did run into people I knew who still drank. I'd run into them at parties. I mean, I went out to bars still in early sobriety and like hung out. I would go see shows and shit, man. My brother-in-law used to work at the door at this barcade down here. It was a bar arcade, and I had nothing to do, so I'd go and play bingo and drink fucking Red Bulls, and just sit in the bar. And I had a really good friend. She's still my good friend, and she was a barber, and she would sit with me because her boyfriend was the bartender there, and she didn't really drink very much either. I didn't drink at all, but she didn't drink very much, so she would hang out with me. I was actually really grateful for that because I needed some sense of normalcy. That being said, my technique is totally hot garbage. Don't do that. Don't go hang out in a bar when you get sober. That's awful. I did it. I did it the way that worked for me, but it's not necessarily, I'd imagine, the correct way. But I feel like navigating. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I feel like just it's difficult to navigate these things, especially when you have really close relationships with people, like your spouse or significant other, or close friends or family members. If they're all still drinking and some of them are active alcoholics, it's going to be a difficult thing. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be pretty fucking hard,
Yeah.
But it's manageable. It can happen. It can be done,
I think yes, it can. I think it was important to me to find a community of people, however you do that, in whatever groups you join, whether they're based around sobriety or based around something else.
Right.
I think that it was really important to meet people and to talk to people and to go oh, okay, and oh, what are you doing? And I don't know whether it was people would invite me to things I didn't want to go to the car show or whatever, but it was nice to kind of meet people and talk to people who were not hey, let's just go to the bar and get fucked up.
Right.
And I didn't have too many friends here, and I really only have one friend in particular who still drinks, and I don't, who I still see on a regular basis, right? And he's so it's just funny because it's the co-host of the other podcast, Gluten is Not Your Problem. And so Walter and I, our relationship has shifted. I don't really bring up my sobriety with him. He knows about it. He knows that I'm in a program, a 12-step program. He knows he knows that I'm not going to drink. He doesn't ask me anymore. When I first stopped, he was like, "Are you sure? Forever, ever?" It was pretty confusing to him, and it was pretty confusing to me. So
yeah, dude. Yeah.
But I feel like, and I didn't know this, I didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but I felt like our friendship was stronger than that. Now, when we do see each other, it is at different hours. Like, I don't go and meet up with him late in the evening if I know that
Right.
he's been out, or if they're going to some sort of party or festival, or just going to dinner and like, hey, you want to meet us after dinner? I don't get those invitations anymore, but when I did, I declined them because I'd gone out a couple of times, and it just wasn't as much fun for me. It wasn't fun for me anymore to sit there and watch people drink. And again, there's nothing wrong with them wanting to have a good time and hang out, but as we all remember, those hours go by, and it's like people get a little bit sloppy, and people get a little bit loose, and their eyes get a little bit lazy, and their speech gets a little bit slurred. And I was like, it's time for me to go. So if you need me to, I'll drop you off at the next bar, and but this is the last driving that I'm going to be doing, and then I'm out of here. So our one of the things is our social interaction is mostly during the day, and it's mostly like, let's go have lunch, let's go do something during the day, let's go do activities before those drinking hours come up. So that's one thing that I think, he and I still have a good friendship, and we still have a good relationship. We don't see each other the way that we used to, but also when I was drinking with him, like, I was very destructive, self-destructive. You were there,
Yeah, I drank
exactly.
with both of you a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Constantly. And we were all together. And so, like, we would get as totally blitzed as humanly possible. And so, like, whatever else anybody else wants to do, that's fine. But I just had to kind of excuse myself from those situations. So yeah, I know I'm more careful with the plans that I make with people I know who are, going to go out and drink. So, and I don't know if you don't get those invitations anymore. I don't think you did in the beginning necessarily.
You know what I did get in the beginning though was a lot of like I'd get a lot of like, oh, you're fucking boring now. I would get some of that, or like I would
just
have
talking shit to you.
Yeah, oh yeah, the guys I worked with and shit. Or I would have like a party. I'd like want to have a party, and I'd have one of the guys be like, I'm not coming to your sober ass party, dude. It's fucking boring. And I'm like, my party's not gonna be sober. Like, you can drink at my party. I'll be the sober guy at my party. Like. And if you get too fucked up, then I'm gonna fuck with you. Like, that's funny to me. As long as you're not breaking my shit or being an asshole, like, we're all good. Like, if you start talking in circles at me, I'm just gonna walk away from you anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't really get. I mean, I felt like I fell into the groove of it. In early recovery, I think it's a lot more serious. Like it's a lot more like you. I feel like I had, not you, but I had to make my recovery my first priority over everybody. So if I was boring, well, fuck you, then I'm going to be boring, because before I wasn't bored, I was fucking just terrified, So I'd rather be bored than terrified, or I'd rather be boring than fucking terrifying, So that early recovery was super fucking crucial.
It's not worth it for you to, like, what, you're going to go, oh, well, somebody says you're boring, Jerry. You fucking suck now. You should probably have a drink. You're like, well, I don't want to suck in this guy's mind, so I'm gonna get drunk.
Right.
Like, that would be the absolute most ridiculous thing. And I understand that, like, peer pressure is pretty heavy, and it can be,
right.
Especially
even
if
as an adult. You don't have to be a teenager. I mean, we all fucking conform to peer pressure every day. Do you know what I mean? I have to wear pants when I leave the house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not talking about shorts. Like, I just want to roll around in a European Speedo, but I'm not allowed to do that, apparently. I guess I am, but you have to put a towel down on the bus.
You maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would go over at the bank.
So we conform to those things around us, regardless to peer pressure, but as adults, so I guess my point is, like, it's not even, because you hear it as a common trope with, like, teenagers, like, don't conform to people, don't conform to that peer pressure, if your friends are drinking, don't drink. And you're like, of course I'm gonna fucking drink. It's what my friends do. We party, like, we get fucked up, And yeah, I decided to walk out of step with everybody and just do my own thing, and be like, this isn't working for me. This is all garbage, dude.
I do think that, like you said, making your recovery the number one priority was also something that I had to get serious with, like, real quick. And I've told the story about how I went out and Walter and I were at a bar, and I knew the bartender, and he slid this drink that he was working on at me, and I took a straw taste. Like, it was literally, it was a reaction. I didn't even think about it. Here, try this drink. And I took the straw taste, and my whole body, like, lit up like it was on fire.
I bet.
And it was like, ooh, yeah.
Well, I always tell that story about you changing out a keg and having the thing explode in your face and the beer get in your mouth.
Yes.
It's almost like you've been tested so many times. In early recovery, I would think, man, not even, sometimes even now, I think, man, I hope, part of me kind of hopes something bad will happen so I can drink. Isn't that fucked up? Like, it's back there really quietly. And so there'd be this, I'd make this elaborate scenario where someone would break into the house with a gun and a pint of whiskey and be like, you need to drink this or I'm going to shoot everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, my brain would actually go to those false kind of scenarios in my head that would justify drinking. Absolutely, man.
And,
yeah.
That's never going to happen, knock on wood, of course. But, I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, what a weird home invasion. That'd be the weirdest home invasion.
To make you drink whiskey.
Like, yeah.
That's the alcoholic part of you that wants that drink, is like, well, then we could do it, right?
Right, because then there's your justification for it. I remember telling my old sponsor, I was like, man, maybe when I get old, or if I had like $1 million, or maybe when I get too old, I'll start drinking again. He's like, man, you just run through that $1 million in a fucking like 4 months, dude. And I'm like, oh, you're right.
you know, the thing is, if you had $1 million, I mean, I don't know, Jerry, but I would say if I had $1 million, I wouldn't run through the $1 million in 4 months, but I'd probably be fucking dead. Like, if that was my plan, you know what I mean?
Right.
If I decided I was just going to fall off the wagon, I wouldn't even live long enough to go through the $1 million. And if I did, I would be so sick and fucking in pain by the end of it.
Yeah, you'd be paying for a new kidney, new gallbladder, new fucking pancreas.
Yeah.
So those are parts that also I think lies in tandem with the idea of these people around you giving you a justification to drink. You gotta. I had to try to avoid all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another piece of advice that's often given is only go where you have business going. So
right. That's the old school one, right?
So that's worked for me because I have had to, and I've worked in bars as a bartender. I've worked in restaurants as a server, and so I'm always around it. But there's been a couple times where I've been dropping things off or going somewhere, and I go to a bar, and I have a purpose to be there, and it's like that little feeling is like, ooh, it would be nice to kind of just sit down. It's cool in here. It's dark, long wood bar, and sit on a stool and have a cold one, and I just now I have to follow that thought all the way to its conclusion, and then that's kind of where I go, okay, time for me to go now.
Yeah, it's almost like an old Greek trap or something. Do you know what I mean? Like some mythological trap where you go in there just to take a brief respite, a brief rest, and you just end up there for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Like the sirens or something.
Like some kind of something from mythology.
Yeah, exactly.
Mythology.
Yeah, it's some little alcove where they're like, rest, weary traveler, have a mead, and then you just fucking die.
I think another cool thing, if you do have to, for some reason, frequent places that have alcohol, like say a lot of people in the music business will be going bar to bar to bar.
Yeah.
I think it's totally acceptable to tell the bartender straight up right away, I don't drink. And most bartenders that I know these days will be very accommodating to that, just because one less drunk person they have to babysit. I can tell you from my own personal experience, the better.
Yeah.
So I don't mind, because there's going to be plenty of drunks spending plenty of money. There's never a shortage of those. But so if somebody says, hey, man, I'm not drinking tonight, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I'll just keep you in soda water, or do you want would you like a mojito?
What's a no-hito? Is that just simple
It's
syrup
just-
and
yeah.
fucking mint?
Yeah, basically
like
soda
ginger ale
water.
or something?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be like, would you like
That is fucking lame. I know the concept sounds delicious,
Right.
but the idea, the name,
The name is terrible. I know.
Call it a brohito.
A brohito. I put a little. Yeah, it's it's just one of those things that, like, being upfront with it and making friends with those people who are, like, making friends with the bartender is always good, even if you don't drink.
Right.
And finding, like, still to this day, like, I try to look for things that are, like, things that are going on that don't require alcohol. Like, there's this really cool thing happening at the end of the month, and unfortunately, I'm scheduled to work and I can't make it. It's on a weekend, but it was like some sober music festival. And my girlfriend, who's a performer, and she's not performing, but she's like, oh, that's really cool, because she's always, one of her biggest things is she'll go to these shows, and the people who are singing or playing are oftentimes so fucked up, or sometimes the DJs get a free bar tab, and she's always just like, I'm so tired of people being drunk and being high, and they can't really enjoy the music, and they can't do their job. And so reaching out and just even Googling that kind of stuff in your area is, I think, really great, and a great way to find just stuff to do.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I still love music. I still like going to shows. I just don't like all the mess that comes along with it sometimes.
I mean, we live in a culture of distraction. There's something out there to distract you. You know what I mean? That doesn't involve fucking 151. You know, like, there are tons of things to do. And I also believe, like, if you're inclined to be an introvert, there's a lot of online communities. There's so many. We say this a lot during the podcast, but there's tons of resources other than the resource that John and I are using as far as connectivity. I think it's just the example that there are things out there in this world that are not fueled or revolve around alcohol. That there's a bunch of shit out there that doesn't have to do with, like, worshiping at that fucking altar of alcohol. I put up little air quotes when I said it, but yeah, I think most of society, maybe that's hyperbole. Maybe not most of society, because we do live in a drinking culture. It is pretty prevalent, but I would say most of society doesn't drink the way that you and I drink. I would assume as much.
There's a lot of people who are into video games, into any number of sports, whether it be, like, seriously. I mean, I'm just saying.
No, I know.
I'm not thinking like Super Bowl Bud Light kind of stuff, but
Oh, I laughed because I thought bowling and lawn darts, but yeah.
Yes, we used to joke that was, bowling was we always enjoyed the leisure sports because you could smoke and drink and eat fucking chicken fingers,
shuffleboard, and yeah.
But any of those things, man, like, if you just Google sober activities, I'm sure something will come up.
Absolutely. It's funny. The cynic in me is listening to this right now, going, "Man, if I were, like, 3 weeks sober and these two guys in a podcast like, you can go bowling or go to a movie," I'd be like, fuck you, dude.
Losers.
I'm dying over here. Like,
Yeah.
you want me to fucking go bowling? Like, I just lost my best friend and lover. You know what I mean? Like, theoretically, like, my family's fucking wants to cut out on me and everybody fucking hates go bowling. You know what I mean? But it's, I don't know, man. It's kind of true, though. I mean, there is shit you can do that doesn't... I talk about this a lot, too. When I first got sober, my dad's like, get sugar. Get a bag of Jolly Ranchers and eat as much sugar as you can. And I was like, I'm not trying to quit smoking here, dude. Like, this is life and death, dog. This is the real shit, Dad. Like... And then
right.
come to find out, I was pounding these sugar Red Bulls, like, drinking like 2 or 3 of them in a day. And not even the Red Bulls, the fucking rock stars, for the sugar content. It's these weird little things you hear that you're like, that would never work. That's ridiculous. And then you start doing these things and you're like, wow, this is actually kind of fucking working,
Well,
like,
yeah, it's just about finding the company. So you're right. I don't know what the activity is. I don't know what the group is. I'm not.
No, absolutely. It just made me laugh because I was like, as long as you've known me, I've been cynical about things. I've always been like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time, fucking playing Magic the Gathering, John. Like,
I've never played.
But we might.
We might. I don't know.
That might be our other podcast, dude.
Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Is that what are the other card games? Pokemon? People still play
Yu-Gi-Oh,
Pokemon?
Yu-Gi-Oh, Cribbage.
I don't know any of that stuff.
War, Euchre, Gin Rummy. Don't play Gin Rummy.
Yeah, start a bridge club. Um, it's just I think that it's there's an old Bill Hicks joke, and he's talking about homelessness, right? And he says,
Right.
he's like, man, it's not that fucking hard to be homeless. Like he says, all you need is the right girl, the right bar, and the right friends, and you are well on your way.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And he wasn't necessarily talking about alcoholics and alcoholism in that joke particularly, but it's so true because I know that the company that I keep is going to dictate the way that I behave.
Right.
So
Right.
if I keep going out with these people who are drinking and I don't drink, at some point I know myself well enough that I will eventually be like, "Oh, this is okay. This is normal. I could probably hang. I've been hanging all
Right.
this time. I do this sober all the time.
Right.
Um, and we talk about like people ghosting, you ghosting people and the way that people come in and out of your life when you quit. Sometimes people leave because of your drinking. Sometimes people leave because you quit drinking.
Right.
And another example is I used to get on the phone with a couple of friends. And one of them, both of these people, a guy and a girl who I used to know when I lived in Eugene many, many years ago, and now he lives on the East Coast and she still lives in Eugene. But we would get on the phone and we would just we would just call, we would just talk, and when we get drunk, we get so fucking hammered and just spend like 2 or 3 hours laughing and joking and telling old stories and talking about old times. And I never thought anything of it. And then I don't remember like hanging up. Like we
Right.
would all just black out on the phone, right?
Right.
And so after I quit drinking, I had a few of these phone calls with them, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't listen to you tell me the same story over and over. And these are people I really care about and I love, and if they are listening, like I really do. And but I just couldn't listen to it's the behavior, it's not the person, right?
Right.
And little by little, those phone calls just stopped coming in, and now I don't hear from these people unless I reach out, and
Right.
which is sad, but also I can't be of service to them or anybody else if I continue that behavior that might lead me to want to have a drink.
Right.
And we talk about putting that recovery first so that I can be available and be of service should somebody need me. And perhaps also, like I can't tell anybody what to do.
No.
I can't say, hey.
Not really.
I mean, I can, but I'm not going to get the reception that I
Yeah, they're not. They're
that
gonna
I think
yeah.
that I want.
Hey, you should be sober when you call me. They're gonna be like, no, we're just not gonna call you. Then we're just gonna call each other.
Yeah, basically. And so it's but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I don't want to try and have those conversations because they're not fun anymore.
Nah.
Right? But I
Yeah,
love these
dude.
people, and so I hope that in some way my being sober, is planting some sort of seed, and that perhaps one day I'll get a call and be like, hey, I need to talk to you about this. And I'll be like,
Right.
I've been waiting for you.
Right.
So I'm always looking for situations with people who aren't actively active alcoholics, because I found those to be the most rewarding relationships, even if they're just brief. People who are dependable, and people who keep their promises. Stuff
Yeah.
that I was incapable of doing when I was drinking.
Right. I've also noticed that you as a person, like in your recovery, you go inward now, which I think is really interesting. I think it's like another aspect of your personality. I've always said that though, like your
What do you mean?
personality changed a lot when you sobered up. But like I noticed that you do get very introspective now, whereas before everything was very outward and kind of pushing out against everything. And now you like run. And I
Yeah.
walk. I mean, I walk and run, and I know that when I walk and run, even if I'm listening to a podcast or listening to music, I still think. Like, I think a lot. I go inward, It's one of my favorite things, actually. Like, tomorrow, if it's not raining, I get to walk. I'm looking forward to it. And that's another thing in recovery that, kept me from the Kardashians. You know, like just getting outside and being in the world and walking around and looking at everything around me and just pondering things. And I know that it works the same way with you too. I have noticed in your recovery, you have gotten very introspective and very into doing the work on yourself and being like, what makes John tick? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do I have to reconcile with in my life in order to make it work for me better? You know, and those are super positive things. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I only continue to do it because I continue to get results that are positive. Right.
Right.
So,
right.
So I think that that's part of the insanity of being in active alcoholism is continuing to do this thing, thinking that it will somehow work better if I do it more. If I drink more vodka, if I drink more beer, if I only drink 2.5 bottles of wine, that'll be just enough, or whatever, this madness, this insanity, you know? And so now, like, part of my program that I was like, okay, we're going to crack the books and we're going to give it a real, honest and objective look. And like, okay. And, you know, I use the fitness analogy a lot because I've seen the physical manifestation of the choices that I make, you know, and be like, when I, you know, counted that I ate 5,000 calories in a day, and I was like, that's not sustainable, dude.
No, that's not manageable.
That's not manageable. Thank you. That's the word. So I had to do the same thing with alcohol in early recovery, and then come to find out that alcohol was, and still is, like one of the smaller, it was more of a symptom of these other problems of depression and low self-esteem and my own issues with my father and my mother and my brother and my family and my you know, my self-worth. And that was a big one too. Like, I don't know about you, but I always felt like a big piece of shit.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I still do sometimes.
Right?
I just did the other day. Yeah, I was so fucking mad at myself the other
What'd
day.
you do?
I didn't, you know what? They had a big event at the shop for Friday the 13th, you know, and they did discounted tattoos, and I said I wasn't going to do it, so I didn't do it. And then I came in the next day, and they were just like, man, that was the best day ever, and we made so much money, and we had so much camaraderie, and we're all fucking best friends in this get-along gang, and you're just on the outside, you know? Like, I felt like when I was in school, like, just on the outside, and I was just, like, so pissed at myself because my ego was like, why would I give people a discount, you know? Like, I don't want to give people discounts, you know? I don't want to end up resenting these people because I never see them unless they fucking show up for a discount, you know? Where at the end of the day, I should have just done it just to fucking get down with my colleagues and fucking, you know what I mean? Like, have something positive happen.
Well,
so I was really disappointed in myself. Like I was when I was still drinking. Like, I surprised myself how mad I was at myself for letting my ego get in the way. And so it still occurs even in recovery. You know, we are not immune to those things. Those things still live in your fucking brain. They just they take a break. Everyone, they take a longer breaks now, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said, and you know, I wasn't there, and I don't know the dynamics and stuff like that. You know, it's always good to find camaraderie, but I find this to be when I do these private like catering, bartending gigs, and sometimes I get phone calls and people want to do it, and then I tell them the price, and they go immediately like, nope, I don't think so, I can't. Let me just stop you. That's too much. And I always say, oh, okay, well, I could maybe give you the number of some people who might be able to help you for that price, but the service that I give you is just, I can't give you half my service for half the price. Because
Correct.
I won't be, and that's the other thing you talk about, resenting people. You know, if I did it for anything less, I would just end up resenting these people, and I wouldn't want to fucking do it. So,
Right.
I can appreciate that sentiment of like, I don't want to do spider webs on elbows for half off,
Right.
or whatever it is, and not, I mean, whatever. If you got spider webs on your elbows, that's your thing. I just, you know, we're talking Friday the 13th tattoos, but
Right.
So I get it, but you know, sometimes in a different situation, but now you know, and for whatever reason, you had to go through that experience and feel like shit a little bit, you
Right.
probably won't do it again, or you'll have a different thought about it if you do it again. So
Yeah, I'll probably work the next one. It just gave me a perspective change. It just was a really hard smack, you know. It was like
yes.
fuck. I thought, but I've been kind of going through a depression lately too, though. So that is also in play with it because I get, you know, I have clinical depression. So you know, every few months, like I'll have like a rough couple of weeks, and it gets farther and farther apart. You know, actually, the more recovery I get, the farther apart it gets. But you know, it still hops up, and it's like, hey, you're gonna feel like shit for about a week, all right? You're just gonna like hate everything and whatever, you know. And I'm like, all right, here we go, you know. And I can feel it in my bones, and I'm like, fuck, you know, I don't want to go through this. I hate this feeling, you know.
Yeah.
But it's part of who I am. It's part of how I work, you know. I just have to accept it and roll with it. And if it ever gets too bad, go talk to a psychiatrist and, you know, hopefully not have to get on medication. But if I do, I'd take it, you know. I mean, if I had a headache, I'd take ibuprofen. You know, when I had heartburn, I lived off of fucking Zantac, so, you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's neither here nor there, I guess.
I don't
it's
know.
It's part of alcoholism, absolutely. But
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about like when the depression comes and you know it's coming and you know it's there and it's like, okay, this is just how I'm going to feel.
Right.
And, you know, you say maybe for a week, and I always try to like go, okay, this is only going to happen for today, and usually it'll last like 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 days, and it's just funky and feeling gross and stuff like that. And you know, I always try to find somebody, usually my girlfriend, to kind of say, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now, because I know that you and I both are prone to, not so much anymore, but to kind of like keep those things guarded still.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I guess I would tell you. There's not too many people, but I just feel like, again,
Like you wouldn't put it on Instagram.
no, no, I don't know, man. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, I feel like social media went from, maybe this is a little off topic, but it went from like, I'm having a great time on vacation, and you know, like your feet in the sand in a whatever picture in the ocean, to like, I have clinical depression and I'm constantly anxious, and there's like this sort of weird, I don't know, this sort of, I don't want to discourage anyone from sharing, but it always seems like, Jesus, I want to know, like, I'm always curious, like, okay, if you're depressed or you're feeling anxious, aside from sharing a meme in your Instagram stories for the next 24 hours, like, what do you do? And not like in a judgy way, not like oh, why aren't you fixing it? But like, what do you do on a regular basis? Like, what is your solution for today? You know, and I don't know. Maybe I just need to stop. There's certain meme pages I need to stop following.
Yo, stop following those motherfuckers, dude. I had to block a few of them to make me sad, dude. I'm like, I get it, recovery's hard, but it's not hard all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You know, and it gets easier. That's the thing. That is the thing that I think a lot of people don't emphasize, because it's not funny. Like, it's not cynically funny to say, like, yeah, over time it gets easier and things get better. They just keep going like, oh, and you're a newcomer in SpongeBob SquarePants or whatever, and then... And I think they're funny too, because I'm like, yeah, I had a fucking, you know, I was a high bottom drunk and I had a rough time, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm grateful that I could stop it before it could get worse. But if I keep drinking, it can get worse. So, but at the same point, like, where's the meme where you're, you know, because it's too positive. But young people, man, I don't get them.
What's up with kids these days?
Yeah, you know, like they're memes and shit. But I think some of them are really fucking funny. But I honestly think it's alcoholism running in tandem with the younger group of people who are raised in social media. You know, it just becomes this big magnifying lens, and there's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure for some people. And
Yeah.
I feel bad for them. My heart goes out to them, because I'm like, that is a lot of pressure. Because I remember having all eyes on me, hating myself and having this dysmorphia of who I was as a person, you know, and thinking I was this just giant shit with legs, you know. And I can't imagine having 10,000 followers on Instagram and being like, I gotta keep looking good, you know, or they're all gonna leave, you know. I don't know, man. Then put booze on top of that. then call yourself like fucking at Bill Wilson rocks or something, and then make a fucking sober Bill Wilson 69 420, and then they're like, yeah, newcomers be like, and I'm like,
Can't listen to it, can't watch it.
Nah, man. I'm like, I don't know, man. Just I gotta find some positive. If any of you listeners out there have positive recommendations for like positive Instagram recovery pages, that don't get too corny with the lotuses and shit either, though, because then they're always like, every journey is a step. I gotta find that nice middle line.
The middle line, yeah.
Yeah, dude, where it's like just cynical enough, but also not so cynical that I'm like, why the fuck am I even doing this?
Sort of like like the Jimmy Kimmel of recovery meme pages.
I think so. That's what I'm looking for.
Is he the sweet spot of cynicism, humor,
well,
and heart?
Yeah, because Jimmy Fallon's way too fucking upbeat, and well, I like Conan too. So Conan, maybe Jimmy Kimmel kind of Conan vibe, but with recovery memes, because then you go to the positive pages and they're almost like, it's almost like walking into a new age incense shop, and you're like,
right, you're like, oh,
I don't really belong here. Then I just feel like a dirty animal in their incense shop, just picking things up and tasting them, so it's like that weird middle ground. It's so interesting that the recovery community has become big, not only big, but it's become like so prevalent in our culture that we can have a meme page for fucking getting off of booze or getting off of dope, and you know what I mean, for like going into a program.
It's a trip.
Because even like the 12-step ones, I'm like, I've been to that meeting, like I'll even write back to those guys and be like, yo, I'd fucking kick it with so-and-so all day, like, Crazy Karen or whatever.
I know
whoever,
I know Meeting Maker Mark.
Yes, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know what? Let Meeting Maker Mark do his shit, man. If all he's doing is making meetings and it's keeping him sober, we'll let him fucking do it then. Who cares?
I think,
you're not the fucking big book police, goddammit.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the point of this tangent that I think we're trying to make here is that it's important to find somebody that you can confide in and that you can share with, and that is not going to judge you. Like that was a big thing for me, because I was scared to say like, well, yeah, I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to get sober, and I'm going to join this group, and I'm going to change my life, and when I didn't believe it myself.
Right.
And like it was so helpful to be able to find other people who had already done it.
Yes.
People who would then tell me a story, and I'd be like, God damn, how did you dig yourself out of that hole?
Right.
How long did you go to jail for? How many millions did you embezzle, or like what did you know what I mean, like whatever it was something something insane, and like what, and so you're here now, you don't look like that kind of person, and they're like, I'm not anymore, I was.
That relatability is crucial, and I think also learning by example. Some of us learn by example, some of us learn by reading, and so that's why I'm a little bit of a mixture of both. But to see someone else go out there and do it for me, so I don't have to do it. And maybe I had to go out there and do it for someone else, so they didn't have to do it, And so it's good to see that. It's good to know that, like, you're not the only motherfucker hiding beer in your fucking underwear drawer. You are not the only motherfucker out there who's drank fucking vanilla extract to get loaded. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, dude. You are not the only motherfucker who drank half a fifth before going out to the bar just to feel like a human being, and that's my jam, like
so much
some of those
before.
things. Yeah, dude, is just, because I used to feel more like myself when I drank, which is weird because it's like putting on a mask every day and being like, this is me now, and then believing it. And then once I got a little bit of time, I mean, once I fucking, got out of the madness, even though I'm still in it, I feel like me now more than I ever did in my life. Like, I feel like me. And so I don't need to be listening to these motherfuckers who are like, come drink with us, Jerry. Because they're all outside in the front yard right now.
Yeah.
They're eighth graders.
Pretty much, man.
No,
and you know what's funny? Like you say that I feel more like myself than I ever did. And I feel the same way. And there's all this new shit that's happening, like inside my head and my heart and in my life, and all of this these other things that I'm like, I'll be doing something and I'm like, who is that? And I was like, that's you.
Yeah.
You. That's you who did that. That's you that thought that. That's you that that, that made that decision. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's who I am. And so this, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it, that journey of self-discovery.
Boom, boom. There were actually
'Cause I don't think
two
there's-
footprints.
I don't think there's any better phrase to describe it.
Right.
You
The
know?
one set of footprints is when I was carrying you, John.
Yes. Exactly.
No, but you're
So-
absolutely right, dude. You're
So
absolutely
it's just
right.
like that. It kind of blows my mind, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I feel better as that person than I ever did when I was drinking, and I felt awful and I felt horrible. And I cannot believe how many hours in the day I felt like shit, and the few hours of the day or night that I was drinking and felt high and elated and just
Right.
was all just chemicals. And, it was all just false. It was all just chemical reactions to the poison I was putting in my body for a very brief period of time.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. I'm so much happier keeping the company that I do now than I ever did. I was thinking, we were going to talk about this today, and I was thinking about other people that I have drank with, and we you remember the manager of the coffee corner, right?
Yeah.
So when he and I hung out, and he and I mean, we got along all right, but and I don't have a bad thing to say about him, except that we kind of clashed a little bit.
Yeah.
But we drank all the time and we hung out a lot, right? But
Yeah.
I never felt like he was my friend. I never felt like he was a buddy. He was always just somebody who was there after work to go get fucked up with.
Yeah.
And once he fired me because I didn't even call in sick. I passed out and couldn't wake up. I would drink until I would sleep through my alarm if I even remember
Yeah.
to set it. But this was one of these examples of a relationship where it was based solely around alcohol and drugs, and we only got together for alcohol or drugs. There was never any real connection. And I think about the relationships and the people that I meet now, like this guy Frank. I tell you about the old Irish guy Frank who does the Celtic mindfulness
Yes.
minute.
Oh, yeah.
So he's great, man, and he's been on the podcast. If you go scroll back to one of the conversations I had with Frank O'Connor, he's pretty awesome. And so to meet this guy, and for us to go to when we did the refuge recovery meeting, and then he and I just sat in the Dunkin' Donuts or whatever and
Yeah.
had coffee and talked, and it was like, wow, how cool is this? Like, I'm sitting in a fucking Dunkin' Donuts shop in a strip mall with some 65-year-old Irish guy talking
Right.
about alcoholism, and I'm having a blast.
Just such odd bedfellows. Do you know what I mean? And your tie is that you're fucking both drunks. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas actually it would have made sense while you were drinking too, because you would absolutely be sitting in the bar with a 65-year-old Irishman drinking as well.
Pretty much.
But, do you know what I mean? But it has flipped now because it's like this positive thing coming out of it instead of this anesthetic thing coming out of it. You know, this dulling of the senses. Now the senses are being like brought back to life again because you're
Yeah.
learning things from each other, you know. And I think
Growing.
those are some of my favorite conversations, is when I learn shit from people. That's why I like doing this podcast, because even though, and this is the only, other than texting a few times a week, this is the only time we really talk, you know. And like we learn shit back and forth, and this also has to do with the whole trying to foster positive relationships in recovery, because eventually you start figuring it out, you know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would encourage anybody who feels lost or alone or even just confused, to find one other person that you can even just, it doesn't have to be this sort of weird, and it's not that weird, but this weird sponsee relationship.
Right.
Because that doesn't work for everybody, you know. And this whole podcast just started with Jerry and I reading together because we wanted to learn a little bit more about, well, one, you know, the program that we're in, but also
Right.
about ourselves and each other, and like trying to figure it out, and like going, oh, okay, so I've got a little bit of time under my belt, and I'm kind of trying to get the idea of this and try to figure out life. And so I mean, that was it. We talked for like a whole year before we ever hit record.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anybody to find one person, and I don't care what book it is or what, even if you just sit there and talk about wanting to drink, as long as you're not drinking,
Right.
you got yourself, basically you got yourself a meeting, and, just finding one single person, it doesn't need to be some epic, weird,
What the fuck is that movie with Robin Williams, Captain My Captain?
oh no, what, not Popeye.
No, not Popeye, dude.
What dreams
Dead
may
Dead
come?
Poets
Oh,
Dead Poets
Dead
Society.
Poets Society.
This is what I'm thinking about. You're saying it doesn't have to be this big, crazy, fucking intense Dead Poets
Yeah.
Society relationship. You just gotta. I just think it's really valuable to reach out. Just
Yeah.
to reach out. Reach out to us, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I may not come to your daughter's quinceañera, but I'll talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you got good food at the quinceañera, then I'll probably come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I've chatted with a few people on Instagram who've reached out, and I'm absolutely grateful that anybody gets something out of the conversations that we have.
I hope they do. Yeah.
So it's always great, and I really, another phrase that I'm hesitant to say out loud, but I think really rings true, is find your tribe, Jerry.
Oh God. Yeah.
I'm
you're
sorry,
fucking right, but oh man.
I know.
God damn, Dave Matthews Band, dude. Oh, just getting that hacky sack.
What would you say?
Getting that sober hacky sack circle.
But it's like that. It means whatever you want it to mean, and I know
It really does. So.
I'll try to figure out a better way to say it, but like it's the most accurate way that I can think of right now. But
Hey, get in where you fit in, homie.
okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Get in where you fit in, homie. But finding people who you can be yourself around, right?
Absolutely. I'm only laughing at that.
It's
This
fine.
is like something that your mom would have embroidered on an apron.
Right?
Just
Find
like
your tribe.
find your own tribe, or it would be like a bunch of meerkats on a magnet, like stuck to her fridge. Like find your own tribe, and then it's a bunch of fucking meerkats. But it's a great sentiment.
That's
It's
what
just going.
next time I visit you, I'm getting that tattooed. Meerkats. I want like a silhouette of meerkats.
I'll absolutely do
Find
that
your
shit
tribe.
on you. I won't even give you a discount. I'll do it for free. I'll hook you up for free.
But yeah, man, like it's so corny, but I don't know a better way. What did you say? Fit in where you get in where you fit in.
Get in where you fit in. You know what I mean? My mom and dad used to always say, "Fake it till you make it, Jerry."
Mm-hmm.
But that was like getting in there and just pretending until it felt right. But yeah, I think it's great to get in, find your own tribe, find your people that are singing your song, dude.
Hey, man.
You'll find them. They're out there. We're out there. We're out there. You are not alone.
The
You
world-
Know, like,
the world doesn't move to the beat of just one drum, Jerry.
no.
What might be
No, I
right for
don't know.
you may not be right for some.
Dude.
Do
You know what? I don't know if anybody's going to get that. Anybody under the age of like 50.
It's from different.
It's different strokes, I know.
strokes, but
There's going to be some 24-year-old that there's like, what the fuck are these guys doing?
just look up the theme song to Different Strokes.
It'll make your day better. Clap, clap.
So yeah, man. I guess it's just important to not. I just don't put myself in situations with people that I know that are not going to be healthy anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the end all be all of it. Yes, that are unhealthy. That's unhealthy. That's a good way of putting it.
And when I am in those situations with people who, even when I'm in a situation with somebody who is positive in my life, or if I'm hanging out with a friend who and something isn't cool with me, or there's like a boundary being broached or something like that,
Right.
I feel like I can say something now, whereas before I wouldn't. Before
Right.
I would just kind of like let things slide, and we would always, when we were drinking, it'd be like we'd fucking get drunk and we'd yell at each other and we'd scream at each other.
Oh yeah.
And then
We're so
everybody
mean to each other.
wake up the next day, and then everybody would just be let off the hook. because we were all drunk, and so you would just kind of dismiss it. But I don't know about you, but I always felt kind of like, what a fucking asshole. And I would always like have these resentments about things, like who does he think he is to be acting that way, or but we would just never say anything because I was the same way.
Right.
So finding people to be in healthy relationships, find your tribe, and you're on your journey of self-discovery.
Right.
Get it?
The tribe is spoken.
Yes.
You're off the fucking island.
The tribe is spoken. Again, for anybody under 40.
Right.
There was a TV show called Survivor.
Tribe is spoken, and you are off of active alcoholism island. Now
Thank God.
stumble into the sea.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, man, it's I just really appreciate being able to talk to you once a week, and I know that
same to you, man. Yeah.
I know that if we weren't recording this, we'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah, we'd be laughing at each other.
Somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's important to keep away from the Kardashians and
Oh yeah.
keep good company.
Yeah.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.